my nice lipstick today. Very first thing, I'm pretty sure you guys know that the trick with these pans is the clips on the back. Have you guys pulled the pans out yet?
Yeah.
So I figured you guys did, but there's a clip in the back. Did you already?
Let me get it up.
We found that just shoving the screwdriver and just kind of wiggling the clip makes it come out real easy, and that took us a couple days. We were fighting these things because we were cussing those clips out. But then once we found the trick to them, and obviously taking off the rubber with these clamps here.
Are you finding any of these frames that are kind of tore up?
Yes, we are.
Rotted out?
Absolutely. Yeah. Once you get one loose, you can slide it over and then just slide it to the left or right and it comes right out. And then you can also look at the pan and see, like on this one, we found that the water was resting on this side and not the primary. So this is obviously the secondary, and most of the water was pooling over here. And then when we pulled the tile down, this was the tile sitting on the left, so you can see it was leaking out of the secondary. So maybe the pan was not sloped correctly. We put a level on the bottom of it, a magnetic level, and sure enough, that was our issue. But that's just so we know what was wrong, and that'll help us put the new one in. We're finding too that when you pull the pans out, these lips here, when the water sits in the pan, they're rotted out. Nothing we can do. This would be definitely a candidate for a new unit, in my opinion, because these serve a very specific purpose. It's to keep the air from going out the left and right. The other way we found, I know you know this, when these things are on, it pushes the water away from the drains and out the sides. It pulls up underneath the electrical box and becomes an issue. That's a big issue with a lot of these are rotting out. So I know you've MacGyvered some things, put some cards in. We've doubled up on the foam and it's tough to stop, honestly. So it is what it is. So that's it. Once we cut it off. The other thing is we've been sticking our fingers in the drain lines. A lot of them have goop in it. We've been shooting them down with CO2. Sticking our screwdriver in it, kind of like checking the oil in a car and seeing if you can feel any muck or goop. Some of them are worse than others. I don't know why, they just are. And so check those for sure. The new pans we found, I don't know if you guys noticed this, secondary and primary, the way these were made, the secondary is slightly higher than the primary. Like this one, it had a scoop up, but the way they made these, it's slightly higher. We actually started plugging half of this. I think this is too low still, considering the amount of water that fills up. So we've been putting silicone. Just use your best judgment when you come across one. If you feel like there's a lot of water in the secondary like this one was, we might want to put some sort of silicone in it. So we have found that once it fills up a little bit more, it'll start draining out of the primary better, just by gravity. So each case that we found has not been a slam dunk. We've just had to use what we found on the old one and then come up with the plan to put the new one in, and once you do a few, it's pretty easy. This lip here is to hold the back end. You don't need any sort of special screws or anything back there. Those had clips, but with the new pans, Edward will go ahead and put that up there.
We need to bend these parts first,
because
this is too high and it'll top this electrical box.
As I know John knows that issue. So what we've been doing is pair channel locks, or we just have these air conditioning seamers, sheet metal seamers, and bend the tab down. They slip right up into that tab. Tabs on the underside of it. And then try to line up your ports with the lines as best you can. None of them are perfect. We've had to trim this line on a few of them because either it's sticking out too far or not far enough. So we've had to modify that one. The secondary, most of them have enough play left and right, up and down for you to line it up.
Then we have the guns down there on my right.
Then we just take a couple of Tech screws.
You're not making it even though, right? Or you're getting
No,
a
it has
slope.
it has to slope that way.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is where you use your eyes, use a level. Doesn't have to be a big slope.
Can you push up? Okay, right there.
Come down a little bit. Right there.
And use your level and make sure that bubble is just going towards the primary. Now, these pans are a lot more shallow than these. So there's a natural fall to the front. It's a lot more dramatic than this one. So, with that said, that's why it's super important to make sure that your slope is going towards the primary. Adjust this one. So, because if a lot of water fills up, you're going to be dripping on someone's iPhone, I heard. I left my priceless 300-year-old book right there. And next part is pretty straightforward from here. For dielectric purposes, we found that threaded 3/4 union here, and then a copper 3/4 MIP. Basically, that's our setup. Just like that. Measure, sweat the MIP onto the line, and screw it in. Same with this one. Same setup. Just screw it in, measure, sweat, and this will solve any sort of difference in metals. So we have a dielectric union here, it's rubber. These lines do not have to be tightened. This union, this nut, there's a piece of rubber in here. I'm pretty sure you guys all know that. You can hand tight this. That's all it needs. Don't tighten it any more than hand. And now we have two nice accesses instead of the rubber to clean and check. And that's all we've been doing. It's not really simple. You guys might find a better way to do it. You guys might find a quicker or more efficient way, but that's what we came up with. On the ones where this metal electrical box might come into play with the union, where the union will not fit because it's just no play, we've put a galvanized coupler and a galvanized nipple. Galvanized is important because this is galvanized to extend it out, and then we run the union into the galvanized nipple, and it brings it out to here. Out of 10 rooms, 8 of them are going to be right primary, we found. We have a bunch of lefts down in your shop. I don't think maybe 5 or 6 of them have been left. And there's no rhyme or reason either. I don't know if it's not that side of the hall like odd versus even rooms. It's wherever it was easiest for them to run the pipe, obviously. Some of them we found the primaries are not even hooked up. Or I'm sorry, the secondaries are not even hooked up, or they're dramatically uphill. So in that situation, if you find a secondary that's where you can't cut the wall or cut the framing, it's just for looks. There's nothing you can do about it. Put a pump in it. The only thing we've come up with, if that was the case, is raise the unit. We've had to do that on other hotels, but it's a lot of work. So it's just money.
What's the easiest way to clean the coil on these things?
They make
normally before we could take the fan apparatus off of this thing without removing the pan.
Yeah.
Now that's not the case because we're screwing onto the fan apparatus instead of the framing, right?
Yeah. So you have to take the pan off, and you have to get a coil brush and a coil comb and some coil cleaner. That's the best way to do it. That's how you're supposed to do them anyways. You're supposed to get all the way in the back, and but they make a special brush for that.
Okay.
That's it.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.